Okay. All right, all right, all right. So, all right. So I realized that, you guys have been enjoying the things that I've been teaching you about the ancient civilizations and whatnot, right? And so a lot of you have questions of where this information comes from. And so what I'm going to do today is make a really quick live. Okay. It's going to be a quick live that breaks all of these things down. Okay. So actually, you know what? We'll start with mental magic, which I am a minister of, right? And we'll start with some basics, right? Now, let's start with the American stuff, right? Well, that's what we'll do. We'll start with the American stuff. We already went over the heart in one video, right? Let's talk about the different serpents, okay? Okay. Right. So throughout your body, there's several different serpents, right? The thing is that the reason that you find the representation of your organs and the things that are within you being shown by different animals is because what's external is also internal, and what's internal is reflected externally, right? You see how the serpent coils up, right? You see it all curled up right here, okay? That's when you're dealing with your organs. You see this stick right here? That represents your femur bone, all right? This is your vertebrae. This is what's passing through it. And notice how that becomes the foundation of what the snake is coiled on, right? You see the cerebellum down here, right? The reason behind that is because your emotions are affected by the things that you consume. Right. So the thing is that through these works, you're able to see the type of things in nature that represent the things that are within you. See, the things within you each operate individually of their own type of system. So they all have their own brain, which means that they all have their own spirit, which means that all of their spirits should be represented in something that is similar to that. And that's easy to see through the ancient works. So all of the ancient works are based off of the body, but also are used to represent everything else at the same time, right? Just like, when you're upset, right? When you have an upset stomach, what happens, right? When you run into an upset snake, what happens, right? It pops up, right? And it gets into that position where it's ready to strike. Just the same way as whenever you're hangry, right? Whenever you're hungry, that starts to get irritating, right? And it gets you to a point to where you're in a raised up position to where you're very alert and you're very much affected by everything that's around you. And you're very much in tune with all of the things that are going on around you. It's like that pinpoint accuracy that comes with the cobra, right? When the cobra's upset, what happens? It coils itself up and it pops up and it gets ready to strike. Same way as you do when you're hungry. Right? Same way as you feel when you start to have like stomach pains. When you start to have stomach pains and things like that, right? And you start hurting in your gut, don't you get a little bit more irritable? Somebody comes, don't fucking talk to me right now. I'm fucking, just leave me alone. You just snap out and snap at them, right? You start hissing at them, right? You see what I mean? The organs that are represented by the animals represent perfectly the type of energy that you create when you're going through these things. That's the purpose behind it, right? And that gives you a certain type of philosophical way to look at things, because now you can recognize that snake that's within you. Right now you can recognize what it is that's making you feel these certain ways and why it is that you think these certain ways, right? So once you see this and once you understand this, if you see a snake in nature, you might it might calm your attitude down instead of you being freaked out because it's a fucking snake because you're told to fear snakes and all this other shit. You get me? These are effects that you take on that become daily reminders. How many times a day do you see at least one or two videos that have a snake in it? How much would you be thinking about your thing, the way that you eat, right? And so when you tie these things in to the things that are going on within your bodily functions, they then become teachers and reminders, right? Maybe you were going to eat that that cupcake that you knew was going to upset your stomach, but across the screen came a snake, and all of a sudden you're reminded that, you know, that's probably going to upset you, and you're probably going to be irritable, and you probably start snapping at people from consuming it. You see how this is a tool that applies to real life, right? You see, there's symbolism and there's animals and creatures that are all around you all the time. So if you tie them into the things that keep you level, it makes it so that they become nature's reminder to yourself to take better care of yourself, to conduct yourself in a better manner. So now you understand why it is that all these different creatures are included inside of the body. It's so that you begin to have daily teachers that are all around you to keep you reminded of things. Right now, when you think of a snake, you think, oh, fuck, I'm going to get bit. That's all you think about. Nothing to learn there. Nothing to help you there. Right? But now that you know that the snake represents, one of the snakes represents your intestines, right? Now you're going to think about this every time that you see a snake. It won't be that fear that they gave you. It'll be that knowledge so that you can gain the wisdom that comes with it, because the more you see it, the more you'll want to apply it to yourself. That's what wisdom is. Wisdom is the application of knowledge. Okay, that's why wisdom was female, because the application of knowledge is a transference of energy. That's reshaping and molding the energy. That's why wisdom was with thee in the beginning, and only she knows thy works, because it's the feminine aspect, which is the process of processing the energy. Right? Okay. Let's move along. Let's move along, shall we? This one here, right? Same thing, right? If you notice, right? Right? You see how the serpent is coiled up like this? You see that, right? Now you see how that also goes straight to the gut where the intestines are at? Right? You see how it's being affected by the water and the blood? Let me show you something, right? Hold on 1 second. Let me show you this. Let me show you something real quick. Intestines under a microscope. I want you to see this for yourself. All right? We're going to go to these images real quick. Let me show you what I mean about this, right? It's not just surface level shit that you're looking at. You see what they look like, right? You see all of this, right? See how it's got these little... You see that, right? See those little things right there popping up, right? You see how that looks? Now you know why that design's on the snake. You understand me? Now you understand why the serpent has these lines on it. That's your intestines on a microscopic level. It's not that none of these things were done by chance. It was all done on purpose. You don't see a fucking snake like this in the wild. You don't see the snake like this in the wild. Right? That's your intestines. Yeah, it does look like little plants. Right? Those are all these little notches that you see on the serpent. All right, so it's not just the surface level, it's also dealing with these things on a molecular level. And this is clearly seen through all types of here, matter of fact, here, let me show you one of my favorite ones. Let me see. This is in my collection. These are my works that I put together here, okay? Let's see. Let's see if that one's on here. I'm pretty sure it is. Did I not put that together? maybe not. Maybe I haven't. Oh, okay, good. I'll just have to make that one recently. All right, so let's go back. All right, this one right here. See, this one right here is the intestines as well. These are your abdominal muscles. All right. Now you can see it a little bit better. All right. This is what your abdominal muscles look like. That's the net. All right. See how everything crosses over and creates the mesh? That's the net. Oh, here's a good one. Oh, wait, where did it just go? I just had a really good one in sight. Maybe this one. It keeps disappearing. My bad. Let me get this. I should just make that right now. Save the photos. Nah, we'll make it later. I'll make it later. Don't worry. I'm not going to hold you up like that. I'll make that page later. It takes a minute to put those pages together. Like, when I say a minute, I mean like, it might take like an hour or two. But, okay, the abdominal muscles are the net. Damn, that was a good one. Where did it just go? Whatever. I lost it. It's fine. Okay. So this is your intestine down here. Now notice how it's the edge of the end of the serpent is inside of the net. You see that right there? See, the serpent doesn't start down below, right? Why? Because your intestines go up. That's the head of it, right? You have the midbrain that's sending the information, right? It's passing through your midbrain, right? You notice how Horus is on both of the oars that steer it. You see the serpent right here that's coming off of it, right? Now this is your cerebellum down here, okay? You see how it's got the fish, right? Because the fish represent the brain, right? You have the cerebellum down here, which is the thing that regulates your emotions, but your emotions are controlled by that serpent. You get me? So let me keep this to the things that are already put together. That way it's easier for you to see. I don't want to confuse you too much because this stuff can get to be a little bit much. Right? So, right, different things to look at, right? Your cardiac muscle, right? Everybody always references this to your what? To your pons, your medulla, the inner workings of your endocrine system, right? That's where they say that the eye is, but this is also the shape of the cardiac muscles. You understand? It's one and the same. And these aren't made up. These are pulled straight out of medical diagrams. You get me? So it's not something that somebody can come in here and say that we had to stretch to reach to or that we had to make up or anything like that. The entirety of the information that you have on your body now currently comes from this, right? Even the way that you talk about it, right? Don't they tell you got the heart of a lion? Right? The strength of the lion, right? The will of the lion, the drive of the lion, the pride of the lion. All these are matters of the heart. Hey, what's up, man? You get me? So, when you're looking at these things, sometimes it's not as easy to recognize. Like, bro, if you're not into this, if it doesn't serve you, then don't be here. You get what I'm saying? Right? You can continue praying to your false gods and your false deities and things. And, before you realize where they taught you to pray from in the first place. Before you got baptized into them waters. Right? This was your original baptism. It was information. It wasn't. No, Jesus is not the truth. Depends on which Jesus you're talking about. There's like 30 different Jesuses in the Bible. You don't even know which one you're referencing to. There's one that's the devil. There's one that's an angel. There's one that's a man. There's one that's the Son of God. Hey, look, you know what everybody misses about the Bible? You know what everybody misses about the Bible? Which one of the characters in the Bible has a last name? I'll wait. Which Jesus in the Bible, which one of the characters in the Bible has a last name? Judas has a last name. I don't know anybody that knows him other than Judas. No, Christ is not a name. Christ is a title. You don't have a last name now. You don't have a last name now. Those are tribes you're talking about. Oh, I know, Trick. But it's not that it's not that humans are doomed. It's just that, my people will perish for lack of knowledge. No, of Nazareth is Nazareth is a location. That's not a last name. That's a title. Nobody in the Bible has a last name, but you think you do? Think about it. Nobody in the Bible has a last name, but you think you do? Do you know that when you register a trust with the United States, like when you register your trust in your estate, that they give you a one name title for all of your tax exempt purposes? They don't give you, they give you a new identity for your tax purposes that only has one name tied to it. Did you know that? And that's how you're supposed to represent yourself when you're dealing with taxation. And it's not even the name that you started with. They give you a separate entity that only has one name to deal with taxation purposes. Somebody might want to look into things a little further. Yeah, you didn't know that, right? Think about that for a minute. You didn't know that part. I haven't told nobody about that because, once everybody registered their estate like I taught them to, they would have found it out when they got the paper back. Nobody raises the question as to why there's only one name and why the Bible only has characters in it with one name. Nobody has last names. You don't have a last name. You have a tribal generation. You have a tribal title. Why do you think last names have meanings? Right? All these names have meanings because there's no such thing as names. You think that your name is that thing that they gave you on that paper? No, that's the government's name. That's why it's called your government name. It's your government name. That means it's your property. Right? Your government name. You think that's your name? Do your friends call you that? No. They call you something else. Does your mom call you that? No, she calls you something else. Does your coworker call you that? No, everybody's got their own name for you. So you really think that that's your name? No, that's your property. Okay? Y'all got a lot to learn. You guys got a lot to learn. All right? Now, you see the praying man? This leg right here is this right here. It's this part right here. See his foot right here? See the bent foot? That's the bent foot. Right? The body and the head, that's the top part of the brain. Okay? That's the brain drinking from the waters that are passing through the spinal column. Okay? Oh, what's my actual point? Is that you don't know how to be sovereign, my friend. You don't know how to be, you don't know how to have trust in your creator yet. You miss the allegories there. The trust in the creator, in God we trust, you know, it's a whole lot, okay? That's a whole nother subject for a whole nother day. Today we're going to stick to the symbolism, okay? Look. All right. So what you've been told is Lucifer is simply the construct of how your eyes work, okay? The little cups that they hold in their hands are your eyes, all right? And as you see, right, you see how it goes, the two hands that are holding it, that go to the head, the shoulders, and the body. And then below that, you have what? See how it combines and gets crossed? Kind of the same way how these are combined here and they cross, right? It's your optical abilities, okay? That's why you have the optical radiation, right? That's what the part that's stringy is called. It's your radiation, right? That's what's represented here. That's what these strands are that are on the sleeves, okay? Bro, what did I say if I know about what's in everybody's head? None of that shit came out of my mouth. Look, this is the thing, is, you know, your perception, right, is always going to be feminine. Why would your perception be feminine, right? Why is it usually the ladies that are holding the cup, right? What's the difference? If it was a man holding a cup, it would be the production of what you'd seen. But because it's the women holding the cup, it's receiving it. Okay, they're the ones that receive and transfer the energy. That's what female is. It's the ones that shape and mold the energy, right? So when you see a male holding it, he'll probably be smaller than the female because it'll be the production of it. Same way, what was that image we were just looking at yesterday? Hold on a second. Let me show you something, right? Let's go into this folder. Let me show you this one, because this is one that everybody's seen. I mean, put a 1 in the chat if you've seen this one before, because I know you have. I just want to verify it, right? See, not this one. Where is the one where they're passing it and it goes from large to small? That would be... where is it? Because there's all this talk about giants and stuff that has to deal with these things, and that's because you guys are missing parts of the pictures, right? We were just going over this one last night. I want to show it to you because it's pretty interesting, because it actually makes it easier to see it for yourself. Where is it? It's the one with the 3 parts of Isis. Where is it? Oh, I know which one it is. It's the okay, I know which one I'm looking for. Just gotta find it. 1 second. Wait, where the fuck? Where is she at? No, it's not that one. Let's see. Where is it? I know it's in here somewhere. Sorry, I just have a lot of imagery. Lots and lots of images. I know you guys have all seen that one before. That's not the one we're looking for right now. Where did I put it? Oh, this one right here. You've seen this before, haven't you? Yeah, no, it has nothing to do with being sleeping giants. No, so please stop running your mouth. Like, look, if like, just there's times in life where you should just listen and learn because there's been a lot of things that you've been taught incorrectly. Okay, so let me help clarify some of those instead of trying to bring in the things that you've been taught. Okay. Now, as I explained, right? Because matter of fact, before we even look at this image, let me help you out with Isis real quick. Let me see how far down that is. All right, that's only that far. All right, look, let me show you something, right? Isis is a growth process, okay? Isis is where you get Genesis from because it's the gene of Isis. Now, in medical terms, that's known as ontogenesis, right? Ontogenesis is basically, in short, it's growth. Okay, every part of your growth grows through the process of ontogenesis because ontogenesis is when you're splitting the cells, which is creating the new cell. All right, because once again, females deal with the regulation of energy. Okay, so what you have here, right? This is the male phallus. If there's no skin on it, right? Remember, this is all internal stuff. Okay, this is the female womb. This is the male's phallus. Okay. Now, if you notice the seed in the phallus that comes from the vulture, right, the great consumer, because it's the information from the man's mind that is held within the seed that is being transferred into the womb. Okay. Now, if you notice, right, you see how this one is only shoulder height to these two? Right now, currently, they'll tell you, oh, that's because these are giants and this is a smaller person. No. Okay. If you notice, right? If you notice, the seed has gotten larger. Right? The seed got larger, but the body got smaller as pieces come out of it. You understand? Because the energy that's being generated and carried is now being transferred. So the body got smaller because it's a part of this that's being given. Let me get this dumb bitch out of here. I hate a stupid motherfucker. Bloop. It's not a very difficult concept. If you take something and you combine it together and then you give a part of it, doesn't that mean that a part of it gets smaller as it's being transferred? Think about that for a minute, right? If you're taking energy from something and you're combining it, right? Doesn't that mean that you're going to be giving parts of it away? So wouldn't it get smaller in stature? It's not that it's a smaller person and these are larger deities. Because if you notice, it's all the same face. It's all the same. It's all the same being. So, okay, you're still not getting it. How the fuck is it that people don't get... Okay, here, let me do it like this, right? Let me break this down for those of you that don't seem to comprehend this. You see this piece of paper right here, right? If I want to transfer a piece of this paper to somebody else, doesn't that make the original smaller? Put a 1 in the chat if this makes sense to you. If that is difficult to see, right? If that is difficult to see, this probably isn't the place for you. You're not ready for this yet. It's very simple, very basic. If something is one piece and you give something to something else, It's going to lose a part of it, which means that it's going to get smaller. One gets smaller as one gains more. Notice how there's a gain taking place here, right? You see how the womb has a separate serpent than the mind does? You see that? You see how now it's gone from being 1 to being 2? You get me? It's the transfer. Yeah, well, I wouldn't necessarily say that it weakens the host, right? I wouldn't say that it weakens the host necessarily, because the purpose of it is to transfer. So it's not necessarily that it weakens it, but it gives a part of it. Don't people give you parts of them all the time? I'm giving you a part of me right now, aren't I? Aren't you giving me a part of you? You're giving me your ears. You're giving me your eyes. You're giving me your mind. I'm giving you my mind. I'm giving you my thoughts. I'm giving you my... You understand? This is the equal exchange taking place here. Just the same as it's an equal exchange that takes place here. Right? Don't ever get confused with all these people that claim to be spiritual teachers and things like that and think that you can be drained of energy. You can't be drained of anything. You have to give that. And you can only give it when you're receiving it. So there's no way that somebody could take from you and just take from you. Stop allowing these people to convince you of things that aren't natural. You're learning to put limits and blocks on the way that you receive energy. See, these are commands that you're creating when you accept these things as your reality. Because now you're telling your body not to regulate. Now you're telling your body to give and not receive. Because your body's already receiving every time. It's how you're being taught to view it that affects the way that your body reacts to it. You understand me? Even your phone. Your phone gives you energy. Whether you like that energy or not makes no difference to me whatsoever. But your phone gives you energy just the same way as I do. We're having an energetic exchange right now in this very moment. It's a beautiful thing that you experience every single day, everywhere that you go. Now, the thing is, right? This is the thing, though, right? Is that you don't control all that other energy that you receive and you take. That's external, right? Those external forces create ideas that affect the way that you look at things internally. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, JD, exactly. Where 2 or 3 gather, their God is with them. So, you got to take these things into consideration when you're thinking about these things, right? It's because those thoughts that you create off of emotions are not yours, right? Haven't you noticed? Look, this is the thing, right? People try to teach you spiritual things and try to give you information about this stuff, and they give you this idea that you're supposed to control your emotions. You're not. That's why Eve wasn't given instructions by the Creator. Eve was never given instructions by the Creator. You know why Eve wasn't given instructions by the Creator? Because you can't control your emotions. You can control your logic. Your logic is based off of what those emotions generate. You can't control how you feel about something, but you can control how you react to what you feel. Eve wasn't given instructions. Adam was. Adam was given instructions. Adam was given the ability to label things. Adam was given all the analytics. Adam was given all of the demands and things. Eve wasn't told not to eat the apple. Adam was. You can't control emotions. It was Adam who was supposed to hold strong the logic versus the emotion. Right? But he was affected by the emotion, right? So he joined in, right? He gave in to the emotions. See, Eve wasn't a person, and it wasn't the apple like you think that it was. Eve was the representation of your own emotions developing. Well, okay, think about it. Wasn't Eve separate from Adam? Didn't she come from Adam? Right? Coming from the rib. What's that? Where your heart's at, right? The things that protect your heart, right? That's your emotions. What comes out of your Your heart does. That's where your empathy and your anger and your drive comes from. Right? Think about that for a minute. No, she wasn't evil. Look, Eve wasn't evil. You're missing the point. The point is that Eve was an emotional response to everything. See, your emotions will leave you feeling unfulfilled. They'll make you feel like you need more, right? You'll spend your whole life chasing after all these things that you feel like you're supposed to. Why? Because your emotions are out of control. Eve wasn't gullible. Eve is your natural need to grow. Eve is your ego. Eve is your drive. Eve is your growth. Eve represented the beginning of your emotional control. Adam lost control of his emotions, so that puts him out of the garden. Your emotions are not yours. You can get upset about things. You can feel happy about things. Now, you respond to your emotions. That's why they're on the outside of the temple. See, this is your cross that you bear right here. That's your cross. The clavicle, your spinal column. Okay? This is internal. This is inside the chest. This is outside. Okay? This is your negative and your positives, right? Your negatives and positives create their own energy. Your energy can be affected by those. Right? Now, another way that you can look at this is your past is the thing that creates the reality for your future. Right? It leads you to where you're going. Okay? So this is the thing, is that your emotions are not yours to control. What you're supposed to control is how you react to them. You get me? Just because something pisses you off doesn't mean you got to punch somebody in their face. Just because something mean makes you cry doesn't mean that you got to go and pop their fucking tires. Just because something makes you laugh doesn't mean that you have to give them something in exchange. Your emotions are not yours to control. The point is to become the one that isn't affected by them, that keeps them on the outside of the logic that they create when they're moving through life. You understand me? You said this mindset is taught in the ancient martial arts. Where do you think they came from? Don't argue with me on this. I took Tai Chi, Kung Fu, Chin Na, Bagua Zhang, wrestling, boxing. I've been through multiples of them. I know because I see my forms that I was taught in the hieroglyphs. When I'm looking at the hieroglyphs. Hey, look, right? I'll show you. I'll show you one of them right here. Look, you see how he's sitting? You see how he's sitting right there? That's when you're in you do this in Kung Fu. Anybody that's took Kung Fu should know this stance. Okay? All right, so let's get back into it, right? Now you're starting to see the usefulness of understanding these things, right? Now you see why it's important for you to learn these things. It's because you've been learning things from a perspective that somebody else had on these things, and the perspective that they created comes from their own. See, the thing is that these things deal with you directly, right? And so you have to be very careful who it is that shows you these works, because people that are destructive in their ways and that wants you to believe that there's controlling powers and wants you to feel like you're meant to be controlled will tell you that these are gods and that these gods are sacrificing people or they're leading somebody or something. Like they give you all these destructive ideas so that it takes you down a specific route, right? That's the thing. That's why it's so important for us to clarify these things, because right now, everything that you find out about this is what? Destructive in nature. Why? Because the people that were looking at it were destructive in nature. And so you're getting their destructive interpretation of it because that's what it told them. Okay? Bro, shut up. I wish y'all would just shut up with this devil talk, bro. Like, look, y'all don't realize that you're possessed. Nobody else in here sees devils. Everybody's able to think. You know why everybody's able to think and nobody sees devils and stuff like that? It's because they're not Christians or Muslims or Catholics. All of these things break down to servants and idiots, literally in etymology. That's what you should look into. Before you go claiming Christian things, you should go and look up the etymology of the word Christian and then come back to me. Like, don't get upset with me for bringing you the truth. Yeah, I've already had people try to flag my live for misinformation, but TikTok restores it immediately because I'm just giving you the definition of the word. The definition of the word Christian means a cretin. A cretin is somebody with a thyroid deficiency that suffers from brain damage because they're not able to fully develop their brains. That's the cost of becoming holy. That's why they call it holy in the first place, because it's putting holes within you. The holes that are within you are within the water that's in your body from all the negative things that you think, which is where the demons and the devils come into play. Because once you're taught about them, you can't escape them when you're making your prayers. You can't escape them when you're having your thoughts, because everything is based on demons, devils, and hell. Therefore, all of the water in your system gets divided and broken, which is holy. It puts holes in your system. So you get holy water from being a Christian. And that stunts your thyroid, making it so that you're not able to process thoughts properly. That's literally what the definition of Christian breaks down to. It goes to the word cretin. Look up the original word cretin and the origin of it. And what you'll find is that is a person that is iodine deficient that has a thyroid stunting, brain damage. So please, by all means, keep talking to me about devils and things of that nature. That just goes to show me that you've been possessed. All right, please go study and then come back. Once you figure it out, I'll tell you how to fix that. Okay, but as long as you come in here just being disrespectful and shit, I'm going to, have to remove you from my presence. Because right now we're teaching some very sacred things that your books came from. Why you think you had the book of Genesis in the first place, right? That had Isis on the cover of it before it became the King James Version. Okay? My people will perish for lack of knowledge, for they reject knowledge, and I shall reject thy seat in the heavens. And thy children. ISIS isn't a person. ISIS is a process. No, I didn't say to be holy is to be a demon, but you have been demooned. But a demon, what you speak of now, is a inspirational spirit. By etymology, the word demon comes from daemon. Daemon was not this devilish creature that you've been given in today's world. That's the problem with reading these ancient texts, is that you can't read them from the context of what today's words mean. You have to read them from the time that they came from. Otherwise, you get somebody's interpretation of it. Right? Demon came from daemon. Daemon is an inspirational spirit. That is somebody that is intelligent, that is smart, that has the will and the drive to complete things. That's what a daemon is. So how did they go from daemon to a demon being something that's evil and devilish? They're telling you, right? You don't understand what they're teaching you. They're teaching you that you're not supposed to get smarter, but it tells you, my people will perish for lack of knowledge, for they reject knowledge. But at the same time, you're also warned against eating from the tree of knowledge, right? Which one are you going to listen to? Both of these things were taught. Exactly, Helly. Why do you think they say that now? They say that you're on demon time, right? They've got two different definitions of demon time. One, they'll tell you they're on demon time when you're out there going and getting it, right? When you're going and getting it, they tell you you're on demon time, but they also try to tell you that demon time is when you're doing horrific things to people. You get me? It's wordplay. Yeah, word spells, exactly. See, it was ISIS on the 1599 Geneva Bible, right? But you have to realize that back in the 1400s, the Ming Dynasty had came to America where they discovered the codexes. And those codexes that they discovered in the Ming Dynasty were explained to people back in China, which was close to Rome. And when the Romans found out about it, the Roman Catholic Church decided to send people over here, which is when the Moors went over there with all their magnetism and all their fucking fancy technology that nobody on that side of the world had ever seen before, and started showing them how to do things like levitate rocks using sacred geometry, vibrations, and motherfucking stones and metals. Right? This is why metal and stones suddenly became so valuable, because of the things that you're able to do with them when you know how to utilize them properly. And you know the properties that they contain and how to reverse their fucking polarities and things like that, you then can do some amazing things. And so these things were considered to be what? Demonic. Why? Because they say that the fallen brought it. The fallen were the ones that got kicked out of motherfucking America for trying to create religion and enslave people. The thing is that there was an agreement that was made on the other side of the world that they would teach them technology in order to conquer the people in the Americas. So you have a whole entire plot that was started. That's why the, what's it called? The Enam Sanctum was created, where the Pope decided to tell everybody that he was the ruler of the world and that he was the modern day Christ, and that he had the right to rule over every man under the world. The Unam Sanctum, right? That was the papal bull, the original, back in the 1342 or 1432. Right? So, yeah, what do you think? Why do you think they had all the bells removed, right? Because they were creating technology over there off of the ancient things. But then once they decided that it was time to conquer, they couldn't leave anything behind, right? You want to see the Ankh? All right, here, let me show you guys something, because a lot of people think that the Ankh has to do with reproductive organs. But that's because these people were very perverted. What do you see in front of you? What do you see in front of you? You see your your thoracic vertebrae. Notice how the thoracic vertebrae is in the exact shape as the Ankh. Right? You notice that? But yet, you've got all these people that are on social media and shit, and that are on all these different things that are trying to tell you that it represents the male and female reproductive organs coming together. The shit doesn't even make sense. Why do you think, right? Look at this. Look, right? Check this out, right? See this little guy? This. Look, right? Check this out, right? See this little guy, right? Right? Look, I want you to check this out, right? So this right here is your neural foramen, right? This is the water that it passes through. This is the nerve root. This is the instructions that are being carried by each individual fucking vertebrae, okay? That's why he holds his hands like that. He's carrying something, right? And the face in there is right here in this part, which is where your nucleus is at, right? The nerve root has the instructions, and the nucleus is what helps it distribute. Notice how it's blue and red, right? For the water in the blood, right? Same thing you see with the Ankh. You understand? The instructions are carried here. This is the vertebrae itself. Okay? These are your thoracic vertebrae. They always tell you about the 12. Well, that's this one right here, the thoracics. Okay? Those are your thoracic vertebrae. Your chest, where your treasure is, your heart will be also. That's in your chest. Where else is there a chest that you see? All right? These are chests. Okay? Think about it for a minute. When you look at these ancient pictures, right? Aren't these in chambers and things, right? Don't they tell you that your heart has chambers? Right? What's a chest look like? Isn't it a box that has a lid on top of it? Right? And then they tell you that the ark has the little serpents and things that come off the top of it and whatnot, right? Isn't this the shape of a chest or a box or a chamber? Okay. Do I have a different theory of what Newt represents? No, I don't have a theory of what Newt represents. I'll tell you what Newt represents. Okay. Do I have a different theory of what Newt represents? No, I don't have a theory of what Newt represents. I'll tell you what Newt represents. Oh, dog. I was just in here looking around my bed trying to figure out what was vibrating. It was the phone. It was this phone, not the other phone or the iPad. All right, here. Let me show you Newt real quick. Okay. What do they tell you? Hey, why do you pronounce it Newt, but you pronounce the word nut differently? Can you explain that to me? Right? They tell you that she's the sky above, right? And that she's the water. Right? Doesn't Newt have to deal with water? Don't you have some water that has to deal with Newt? No, I got you, bro. I got you. Just hold on. Let me try to find the image. It's in here somewhere. And we can go with this one. You seen her before? Wouldn't that be your Newt right here? All right, this is the thing, right? It's the inner workings, right? It's the Newt represents the waters of your firmament. She represents the waters of the brain, right? The thing that transfers the energy throughout the brain, right? Newt would be on the outside. Okay? That's why inside of her, you're going to see stars, because stars represent what? The energy. Right? Don't think of stars as fucking stars in the sky. That's a representation of energy. Light. What is it that fuels your mind? Energy. Light. Right? That's the thing that creates your thoughts. That's the thing that you receive and take back, right? See? You see? This is your basal ganglia. All right? It's the thing that controls the distribution of it. Notice how you have the energy that's being carried. You have the scarab with the wings on it, showing you that it's energy that's going down and back up. Scarabs go down and then come back up, right? The creation of the thought from that's being carried. That's why the wings are on there. Wings do what? They travel through energy. That's what wings do, right? Think about that. When you see a bird fly, do you see what it flies on? No, it just flies, right? So feathers do what? See, look, this is the thing, right? For all these people that claim to be Indians and Native Americans and shit, you don't wear those feathers because you're trying to be ceremonial. The feathers are worn because it transfers the energy around you within you. That's what it's done for. It's not done for any other purpose. You see, you have to know how nature works, and you have to know where these works came from to be able to understand what these things are actually for. It's to transfer large amounts of energy into you. That's why you have to gain a certain level of discipline before you start receiving these things, because you're increasing the amount of influence that you have. The more feathers, the more influence you're able to create. Okay? That's why they made it illegal for everybody else to have feathers, because only the people that don't know how to use them and what they're for are able to actually keep them. Because if they got into the hands of the people that actually know these things and understand how this works, these are the things that would make it possible for you to do things on your own, like levitating things and fucking shaping things and controlling things. Because feathers grab ether, the energy, and shape and mold it. You never noticed how they have those feathers structured? Yeah, it's illegal for you to go out and get eagle feathers and fucking owl feathers and shit like that. If they catch you with that shit, they're gonna lock you up, because they say that only Native Americans are allowed to have them. Only Native Americans are allowed to have them because they don't know what the fuck they're doing with them. They don't know what they're doing with them. They think that they're just wearing it for the fucking, to represent the nature and all this other shit. They don't, like, most of them don't know where these traditions come from, but all of their traditions come from these works. You understand? Because all of the things that they practice, just like all of these religious practices that everybody's doing, also come from these ancient teachings. All of it does. The only difference is that everybody that's using this stuff now has been taken away from the origin of it, so they don't know what it is that they're doing with the things. They do things for reasons they can't account for. Why do you think in every religion they teach you to wear one type of cloth and one type of cloth only? That's regulation of energy. Because crossing threads creates meshes that create blockages. So it's natural to wear one type of cloth, because that keeps the flow of energy regulating naturally. Right? And depending on what type of cloth you wear, depends on the type of frequency that you attract or you give, and the amount of it that you're able to absorb. Right? The reason that Muslims and Jewish people wear that hat on top of their head, right? If you notice, that hat on top of their head is made of one cloth, right? Why would that be? Because it's increasing the amount of influence that you can carry. These are sacred practices that are being done for reasons that people don't understand. Nowadays, they think that they're wearing that hat because they want to remind themselves that there's something above them. That is not shit. That's a lie. That is a bold-faced lie, and that's a wrong teaching. Yeah, a lot of the world is acting in it's the blind leading the blind. What do I wear? One cloth, either cotton or linen. Notice how I'm one-pieced. I'm going to tell you that I ain't got nothing on under this, but I'm not going to show you because that'll get my account banned. I take my shit very seriously. Why do you think you're way the fuck over there? Why you think you're way over there? I take my energy very seriously. I know regulating my shit. I keep my shit regulated regularly. Right? Discipline. Hey, look, I want you to think about something for a minute. Most of y'all are going to have prostate problems, whether you're male or female. You know why you're going to have prostate problems, whether you're male or female? Let me show you something, right? This is where all your diseases come from, right? Let me show you something, right? Aren't you wearing pants and underwear? Aren't you wearing pants and underwear? Aren't you directly crossing your shit every day? Not only are you crossing it once, but doesn't this have an elastic band? So doesn't that mean that you're not regulating your reproductive organs properly? Right? Then you got to think about it, because then on top of that, you've got your shirt that hangs down over it as well. Right? You might have a wife beater on underneath that, or another shirt, like, you know. And then, hey, look, don't forget to throw your belt in. Right? That's got that buckle right where your reproductive organs are at. You think they couldn't have found a way to make you clothes that didn't fucking cross that shit off? Wow, FM 550. Wow, females don't have a prostate? Wow, I never knew that. Oh my God, thank you so much for sharing with me that very crucial information that I never would have thought of. Let me just help you out. Boop. This motherfucker. All right. God. Yeah, I swear, people say, like, you know, like this, like, please don't come into my live trying to educate me. Okay? If I don't say something, it's because I assume that you understand it. Okay? And you know, maybe I make some assumptions sometimes that are a little bit, you know, giving a little too much credit sometimes. But the fact that, like, if you have to point something out like that, then that's something you need to work on with yourself. You get what I'm saying? What's up, Elizabeth? A man dressed with no drawers. Hey, man, now you understand why, you know, people wear those Muslim garbs. Now you understand why the Jewish people are all in one type of suit. Now, they don't understand why they do it, right? They don't know that they're doing that for frequency purposes, because they don't know where the teachings come from, because religion takes you as far away from the teachings as possible. Right? Nah, they weren't. No, they don't talk to me, Roberta. They be trying to tell me. I don't, like, you know, that's the funny thing, Roberta, is they're telling themselves, but they're trying to correct me because they can't deal with the fact that they're not motherfucking being able to comprehend their own shit. Now, I wouldn't say necessarily a hair is an antenna, because there's people that don't have any hair. That doesn't make them any less able to tap in than anybody else. You get me? Yes, you were born perfect. What are you talking about? They're about your design. The thing is that since you've been born, your design has been thrown out of whack by all the things that you've been taught. We were just having a conversation about this last night. When you were a child, your parents would have to hunt you down to make you sit down and eat. Right? You were born perfect. Okay? Your parents would have to hunt you down to make you come and eat. Why? Because you weren't getting hungry. Why? Because you were doing things as a child like sun gazing and running around barefoot like you're supposed to, like in nature. All right? They even went as far as to convince you not to sun gaze, right? And to yell at you whenever you were sun gaze. Don't look at the sun. Right? They've been programming you to destroy your temple, because they were taught to destroy their temples. All right? You understand me? You were definitely made perfect. You've just been attacking that, going against nature the whole entire time. Because you've been programmed. Your parents got programmed. Okay, none of this shit, none of these practices started until the 1920s to the 1930s. That's when everything really actually took a shift. Before that, everything was still fucking in play. That's why they had to create Jim Crow and shit, was to separate the people so that they were able to conquer everybody. Jim Crow, look, you don't create laws. Look, I think a lot of people miss this part. Right? A lot of people have a hard time with this concept. A law is created after something is happening too much, not before. Right? So what's that telling you? They created Jim Crow because of the fact that there was so much mixing going on. And they had to stop it. You get me? If it wasn't a problem, they wouldn't have had to make a law to make it work. And it didn't work. They made Jim Crow law in like the 30s to 40s, and it was abolished by the 60s. It only lasted about 20 to 30 years. They couldn't force everybody to stay that way. Nobody was going for that shit. You get me? You got to think about these things. A lot of people look at things so fucked up. Bro, look, we had what you call colored people in the government all the way up until the 19 fucking 30s. So everything that they're telling you beforehand that happened is a bold-faced lie. Because it was us that invited everybody from the outside world to come here to experience freedom. Because everywhere else in the world, they were trying to make commerce and business. This was a place of free trade and free growth. That's why we were able to create such amazing technology and such amazing civilizations and such amazing fucking things, was because everything was free in exchange. That's what they tell you. Even back in the 1400s when Columbus came here, what did he tell you? Oh, they exchange everything for free here. That'll make them easy to fucking control. Right? Had their hand in the Constitution? No, my friend. They are the reason the Constitution was created. See, this land was ran by colored people originally, which is the republic for which it stands. Republic. R-E means no. No public. Right? Right now, you're in the public, right? I don't need to stop smoking, my guy. See, I regulate my energies all the time. I can't be affected by diseases and fucking problems. You get me? Because I know how to cleanse myself, and I do it every single day. People don't get affected by tobacco because of what's in it. They get affected by tobacco because of their DNA. There are people that take tobacco that it'll crush their whole entire system. You know that you don't hear too many there's not too many colored people that you're going to find that get the C word from fucking tobacco. There's a hint in this stuff. All right. Tobacco was a natural thing for us. That's why we were the ones that had the tobacco trades. You get me? Now, the body resets itself. Your DNA resets itself every 28 days on the lunar cycle. Your DNA resets just like everything in nature. It keeps on growing, just like the grass outside. You get me? So whenever the grass outside starts getting too fucked up, what do? You cut it and have it grow some new shit, right? That's what you got to do with yourself. Yeah, you should be fat. Look, let's not even call it fasting. Okay. The problem with calling it fasting is that you're restricting it to a practice. No, fasting is your normal way to eat. That's your proper way to eat. Anything above that is gluttony. Naturally, right? Naturally, I can go about 2 weeks without having a bite to eat and be perfectly fine before it starts messing with my mind, right? But that's only because I'm, that old programming still is there, so I freak out a little bit around 2 weeks, but I can literally go 2 weeks, no problem, without eating a fucking anything whatsoever. So you're not going to tell me that we have to fast. No, because I don't fast. I go with my natural rhythm. You guys are gluttons that are fucking indulging in that shit too much. Okay? No, fasting is not a sacrifice. Fasting has nothing. See, this is the problem, is y'all been taught so many things. Y'all been taught so many things to make you go against nature. Fasting is not a sacrifice. Fasting is natural. Because you're not fasting, you're just eating properly. Your body was never created for you to have to eat every day. Everyday food wasn't available. You're like everything else in nature. You don't see animals in nature eating every single day, except for one or two things: cows, pigs. There's very few things that have to eat every single day. You get me? Yeah. Notice how everything, cows, pigs, sheep, motherfucking chickens, none of these are natural. Stamped in love, horses don't have to eat every day. You guys just feed them every day. None of these are real animals. This comes from a fowl and a vulture. This comes from a boar and human DNA being mixed. This comes from the ox, and this comes from the ram. These are all genetic splices. That's why they have to eat every day. None of these things are found in nature. None of them exist in nature. So they have to eat every day because they can't sustain themselves because they're not natural. Yeah, that's why you're giving them as food. It's all man-made shit. These are forced genetic mutations. Bro, the only place that you find cows, pigs, chickens, and sheep is places that are close to humans. That's because humans made them. Why do you think they're so destructive on your body? Birds don't have to eat every day. The only time that you see birds eating daily is when they're feeding their young. Or out of straight up boredom. Look, anything with the horns comes from the ram family. Except for the ox. How do I eat? In moderation. mostly fruits. Every once in a while, I indulge in some pepperoni pizza. But, you know, outside of that, pretty much just fruit or nothing. You get me? Main fruit is coconut and watermelon. You know, when I'm indulging in, you know, cuz I don't eat steaks. I don't eat burgers. I don't eat roasts. You know, I don't eat any large portions of meat. You know, I might have a pizza that has some toppings on it, but after I have that pizza the next day, I'm probably going to eat an apple to make sure I kill anything that my body was about to create. Got to have the seeds in it. Most of them are human meat, Fred. Today, you can't eat none of them without there being human involved in it. They're splicing it from cancer cells and making it with glue, and you know there's a reason that if you check the FDA that that you're gonna find that there's a certain percentage of human meat that's allowed to be in all of the meat that you eat, in all the food that you eat. All of the food that you eat has a level of human that's allowed to be in it. And trust and believe it's in there. Oh, I know they do. I know they allow bullshit in the food, bro. Why do you think I don't eat that stuff like that? Like, dog, I don't really fuck with too much foods too often, you know? Why can't they just let us be great? Because then they wouldn't be able to convince you that you that you're ran by money and that you have to pay for everything that's provided for free. You get what I'm saying? Ugh. What do you eat instead? You don't have to be eating like that. Look, just try it for yourself, right? Try this for yourself, right? Wake up in the morning and eat you about a quarter of a watermelon, right? Eat that, right? And then around noontime, take your ass outside, close your eyes on your lunch break, and get you about a half hour worth of sun gazing with your shoes off. Don't give a fuck. Don't worry about how people look at you. Be the example, motherfucker. Stop being a puppet. Stop being worried about people's opinions. Go outside at lunchtime, take your shoes off, and face your face towards the sun for your lunch break. And just sit there and let it absorb with your eyes closed, because you're not ready to have your eyes open looking at the sun yet, unless you've been practicing sun gazing for a good amount of time. Okay? Close your eyes and then go back into work, and you're going to find that you don't get tired in the afternoon like you used to, because you fed yourself properly. And then around dinner time, like, you know, in the afternoon, go ahead and eat you another quarter of that watermelon. All right? Make sure you got the one with the seeds, because you want the seeds as well. Okay? Now, you'll notice by the end of the day that you still didn't feel like shit, but then when you wake up in the morning, you're going to start to feel a little bit more energy than you had the day before. You do that 2 days in a row and you'll wake up feeling great. All it is a mental game. It's the mental game of not giving in to the idea that you're supposed to be eating that shit. That's going to be the thing that you struggle with the most. But if you pay attention to how your body feels and how you feel, afterwards, you'll like the results of it. Don't take my word for it. Try it. Try it. Because by that third day of nothing but watermelon, you're going to be feeling amazing because your body's going to start destroying everything that's not supposed to be in your system after the first day. Because when you're eating a watermelon, you're eating water. It doesn't register as food. It's like fasting, but it fills you up because of the fiber in the watermelon. So it'll keep you full and it'll keep you hydrated. You'll find that you need to drink less. Okay? You want to avoid pineapple as much as you can because pineapple kind of dissolves, kind of eats you from the inside. Like that's something you want to take every here and there. Pineapple's natural fucking defense is against man. Pineapple's natural defense, the only things that really bust open pineapples and eat them are man. Pineapple's natural defense is an enzyme that eats away at you. No, it's not real water. You want coconut, not pineapple. Watermelon and coconut. Now, if you pay attention to the old song, right? It puts the lime in the coconut and they're telling you how to have an alkaline drink that's supercharged. Add a little pinch of some salt in there and you're good to go. Not table salt. Okay, not table salt. You want to get Celtic salt. You want to get sea salt. You don't want iodine. You don't want the iodized salt. Nobody's saying don't eat pineapple anymore. If you like it, enjoy it. Learn to regulate yourself properly. Keep it in moderation. You get me? That's the key. The key is learning moderation. It's discipline. Yeah, Baja Gold is really good for salt. All right? Baja Gold is a really good brand. Now, back to this stuff, right? Back to the, see? Now, you're going to see that in every ancient civilization, you're going to find people sitting in this position or a variation of this position, right? When you do, what you're looking at is the spinal column. Okay? What they're trying to show you is what's passing through the spine. These are your disciples. Okay? These are the discs that I pull. Who's the I? The creator. The disc that I pull. Who's the I? Your heart. Your heart is the thing that witnesses everything that you don't witness. So, your heart is, they tell you that the heart is the thing that leads you. What's behind the heart? Your vertebrae, the discs that I pull. Right? Now, what's the other version of it? No, not that one. Not that one. Where's the other version? Hold on one second. Let me find this for you real quick. Where is my sacred geometry? Ah, there it is. See, the other version is the fucking disc cycle. The 12 that follow behind the 1. You understand? See, the disciples have to do with the disc cycle. That's why there's a time chamber on it, right? See, you have your 4 seasons, right? Which is the 4 chambers of the mind, which is your north, south, your east, and your west. And your disc cycle tells you what's in your disciples, because all of these have minerals, stones, colors tied to each one. So when you're dealing with your disc cycle, right, most people don't realize that they actually are missing some of it, right? Because when you're in the womb, you're only receiving certain parts of it unless you know how to practice production properly. If you know how to practice production properly, you would be abstinent for at least a 3-month time period in order to include the rest of the things that are missing from your genetic makeup. Yeah, the disc cipher, right? The disc cycle creates the disciple. The disciple is the one that is in tune with the nature, right? Bink, bink, bink. So the thing is about astrology that most people don't even realize, because you get told, oh, I'm a fucking duck and I was born in this month. And because I'm a duck and I was born in this month, oh, that means that all my characteristics belong to that. Well, what about all these other fucking months that you were in the womb, where all these other signs were included? But what about those? How are you? So they've already taught you to separate yourself from the rest of yourself, because you've already been convinced that you've only got one. Right? And while you're convinced that you've only got one, you think that you're one, but you've got all these other ones in there that you're just ignoring. Which is why, when, I kind of give people a lot of shit when they try to tell me about astrology and shit like that, because, everybody's like, I'm a this. Well, what about the rest of you? What about the rest of you? See, they used to have this practice, right? Where from the end of the old year to the new year, right, they would practice abstinence. Right? And then with the new year, when spring starts, they would have a little practice of creating a baby, which they now can convince you is paganism. Right? It's called Easter. When everybody met together and made a fucking complete baby after being abstinent for months. Right? Kind of like how in nature, everything shuts down in the winter season and goes into hibernation. Right? For that little 3-month time period. Right? Everything shuts down, so they would shut down because they were in tune with nature. Right? And so because they did that for that time period, when that new year of March comes around, that's when they made the baby, so that the baby would be fully encompassing all of the energy of the universe instead of just a fucking few of them. Right? Right? Why do you think people live longer back in the day? Why do you think people lived longer back in the day? Check this out, right? So this is the thing, right? Is that, that practice was removed. All right. And everybody's like, why don't people live to be as old as they used to be? Well, probably because you're not practicing the same things that used to be practiced. And then to make things even worse, right, you go and cut the umbilical cord, which is part of the umbili, which is part of the kundalini, if you want to call it these things, right? Because the umbilly is known as the thing that carries the energy, right? Because it's tied to what? That sac with all of that astrological energy within it. Sounds like schizophrenia. Okay, here, let me help you out. See, you can't help everybody. You know, some people are Christians. Hey, look, I'm gonna start. Hey, look, anytime, look, hold on, wait. Let me show you something real quick. I just want you to be on the same wave with me. Anytime somebody says something disrespectful to you, I want you to call them a Christian. We're going to start this until they actually understand it. Hold on, let me show you. Let me go to entomology. Space. Now look, what's this say? I want you to see this for yourself. I want you, because we need to get into a practice of this until they start waking up. The word Cretan was fascinating and somewhat surprisingly entomology, while now used as a derogatory term for some considered stupid. It was originally stemmed from the French word Cretan, which itself is derived from the Swiss French word Chrestin, meaning Christian. This connection to the Christian is not meant to be insulting. Rather, it reflects a historical belief that individuals with cretinism, a condition caused by thyroid hormone deficiency, were still human beings, albeit with severe physical and mental impairments. I'll let you take a screenshot. I'll just let you take a screenshot of that so that you can keep that for your own records. Okay. Okay. So now you understand why whenever somebody starts talking shit to me, whenever somebody that starts to be derogatory or starts to say something that is ridiculous to me, I immediately assume that they're Christian. And you should too. And anytime that somebody does something, immediately tell them that. Why? Because immediately telling them that they're a Christian is going to make them go and look at it. Now imagine walking around claiming that you're a Christian. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Thank you, man. You know what? I forgot I got the flag on the plate, fucking red flags. Okay. Anybody that claims to be a Christian gets the fucking red flag. Okay, because you automatically know where their mind's going to be at. I'm a Christian. Why does it bother you? Bro, are you not reading this? Are you not reading this? It does this to you. You see what I mean? You're a Christian. You see what I mean? You don't even comprehend what I'm saying to you right now. You're proving the definition correct. Literally. Which is why you can't even comprehend what I'm saying, because you've been affected by this. Oh, you want me here? Don't bring up Islam. Oh, don't do it. Don't you fucking do it. Because if we're going to talk about Muslims, let's go to entomology. We're going to look at the entomology again. Don't make me do it. Uh-oh. What's the term? It means he submitted, he surrendered, he resigned. translates to one who submits or surrenders. Right? Now they like to add in to the will of God. That's notice how that's added in. That's not what the word means. The word it means submitted. Puppetry. Catholic, let's check that out. You know what? I keep forgetting to go to do the etymology of Catholic. Hold on, let's check it out. All right, look, all right. So let's see. Oh, it makes perfect sense. They're all embracing. All embracing, which makes perfect sense. You know why it makes perfect sense? Because the Catholics are the ones that created all the other religions. The Roman Catholic Church is the one that you make all your donations to. The Catholic Pope is the one that is ruling all the nations through the Unum Sanctum. That's why it's all inclusive. They're the ones that are in control of everything, right? Duh, do you know that the oldest documents of the Quran were found in the 1970s? What's that tell you? Once the oldest documents of the Quran were found in the 1970s, then they made the hijab a national requirement, right? What's that telling you? Right? But that oldest document of the Quran wasn't found in Iran. It wasn't found anywhere though. It was found in Britain. I'm a liar. Okay. When was... Hold on. Let me prove it to you real quick. Bro, you don't understand because you come from stolen children that got initiated. See, they tell you a whole bunch of other stuff, right? Let me show you something. Right? They tell you that it dates back to between 568 and 645 AD is what they tell you about, right? But strangely enough, it's an important contender for the oldest Quran is the Sanna's manuscript discovered in Yemen in 1972. You want to explain to me why they couldn't find any original copies of your stuff until the 1970s, sir? Right? Because I got some things to show you, right? Because this all happened after the 1400s, right? Because you had the Ming Dynasty. Was it the Ming? Hold on. I think it was the Ming Dynasty map. Because the Orientals were the first ones to come this way. Which is how this information got spread to that side of the world. Yeah. They were the first ones to have a map of America. This one right here. See, the Orientals had came here back in the beginning of the 1400s. It was their map that made it back to the other side of the world that created the... It was because they came to the Americas. Right now, I want you to notice how the Americas are on the other side of the map. Okay? Notice how it's on the other side of the map? Well, that's because Jesus was created by the Catholic Church, my friend. You see, back in the 1400s, you had the Ming Dynasty that came, which let us know that there were people on the other sides of the world. And so after that, you had the Moors that went out and traveled around, which is where you come across images. Hold on, let me show you. Oh, wait, no, it won't be in this one. It'll be in the regular photos. Which we're going to have to go back to the 1400s, right? So, where is it at? You see, because it was after which then the Pope issued out the Doctrine of the Discovery, the Papal Bull, the Secret Treaty of Verona. That was in the 1470s to the 1490s, right? And that was due to the fact that after the Ming Dynasty came to America, the Moors went around. People were ejected from America because they wanted to go and conquer people. So they were sent out and they told everybody they were coming to civilize them, but really they were indoctrinating them. All right, so let's see. Where's my pictures from back in like the 1400s and stuff? Hold on. We're right in the area. Okay. The reason that people don't know a lot about this is because the history got reversed heavily, like super heavy, like super, super heavy to make you think that things are really fucked. But they were really happening to a different group of people than the ones that they were being told about, right? Because in the 1400s, there were people of great stature that were traveling the world from the Americas that were going around and teaching. Okay? That had gold, silver, and jewelry that even the Pope had to submit to because they were considered gods because of their ability to control and influence nature and magnetism, which seemed like miracle working and magic. And so because of that, these were deemed as things that were of value because of the capabilities that came with them. Jesus was teaching people about the frequency. That's Esau right there. Shut up. Stop talking. Learn. Listen. Sitting here telling me I don't know about Jesus. Well, Jesus didn't start off as a fucking white guy. They did that. Okay? Because it was given to them in order for them to create peace amongst their nations, but they didn't take it to create peace amongst their nations. They took it to enslave everybody. And because of all of the greatness that was found here, it became the purpose of the Pope to conquer this land. And so that was done through the submission of the nations. Through the Unam Sanctum. Where is it? Here, matter of fact, here, we'll just do it like this. Because it might not be on this one yet. Let me show you. Unam. Bro, y'all can't come in here and argue with me because my receipts are serious. there's, I don't miss, okay? I know what the fuck happened, all right? Unam Sanctum. We need the PDF. There we go. Boop. The Catholic Church. The original papal bull, right? See how we're back to that bull again? Now, this isn't the full PDF. Let me just look it up on here. Unam. See, this is why you need to pay a subscription to Scribd. Because Scribd's got all the sauce. See, the first trust of the world, the papal bull, the first crown of crown land. Oh, I gotta log in. Hold on a second. Hold on. People are like, why do I gotta give you $75 for your library? I don't know. Probably because I pay $12 a month just to download the documents that are needed for you to accomplish everything that you want. So you don't have to. So you can just pay me a one-time thing. Right? See? Skip. Why the fuck are they giving me ads now? The executors or administrators of the estates. I told you, it's all about estates. This is the original document that flooded the world. Because in this document, it was claimed that what the fuck is going on with this thing, bro? Did it log into the wrong account or something? Because I think it did. Hold on a second. I gotta sign in with mine because otherwise it's gonna keep sending me free all that bullshit. Okay, this was the original Sesta QV Trust. Motherfuck. Fuck, what was the password? Hold on. Sorry. God damn it, I can't even remember the fucking password for it. I gotta log in on my other stuff. Whatever. We'll get into that one later, I guess. But yeah, outside the church, there's no salvation. That's pretty much it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so what the Pope did was said that the position of the Pope was only verified by him being able to have the entire world follow behind the Pope. So that became the mission. Okay? So, you know, all of this stuff, right? All of this stuff, right? Because the information that they brought with them came from all the sacred things they found here, right? That's why they tell you that the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, went on the Crusades and they destroyed and burnt down all the libraries around the world. Didn't you notice that all of the stuff in America is burnt to shit as far as all of the ancient civilizations and things? Okay? Now, to my Muslim friend that's in here, right? To my Muslim friend that's in here, I want you to realize that while your leaders are telling you to come over here and conquer America, I want you to realize that your same leaders are meeting with the Pope. Your same leaders are meeting with the Jews. Your same leaders are meeting with the Christians. They're all sitting at the same table together. No, Jesus is not the church. You learned about the church in Moses when Moses named his body the church. The house of God is the body. It is not the church. Right, you are the temple. Matter of fact, yeah, because I already put the video together. Don't think I didn't. What? Nah, don't call it Torah. If you're going to call it by the right name. It's the Torah. See, they want you to say Torah, but it's the Torah. You can go to my channel real quick. Huh? Right here. I literally just put the video about.
Sanctum, the papal bull, the original from 1302. Now, I know what you're wondering.
Of course I didn't. I'm not indoctrinated.
So special of this. This is the beginning of Admiralty jurisdiction. Let me show you. See, this is where the Pope...
Let me ask you something. Why would I read your books when your books came from my ancestors' hieroglyphs? What you call hieroglyphs. Why would I read the interpretations when I can go straight to the source? And I'm one of the few people that goes straight to the source. Why would I read your interpretations?
His authority was ordained from God, and that the world was to be submitted to his control. Look, it even includes one of my favorite verses. Deliver my soul from the sword, my darling, from the power of the dog. You know, the dog, the power of the tongue, the double-edged sword.
Don't make fun of him, bro. He's
I've been telling you that book is about your body.
He's a Christian.
The entire time, right? What's it say right here? He prayed for his soul, that is for himself, the head.
Hold on. Let's read that one more time again. He prayed for his soul, that is for himself. So the soul is you. You are the soul, right?
And at the same time for the...
All right. He prayed for the soul, that is for himself. You're the soul. The head, and at the same time for the body, and he named his body, that is the one church. If the body is the one church, doesn't that explain why God doesn't dwell in a house built by hands? Now, the funny thing, my Muslim friend, is that the Torah is also inside of your Quran. Moses is also inside of your Quran talking the same thing. Jesus is also in your Quran. Jesus tells you that God doesn't dwell in a mosque built by hands. Right? So you have the same studies, but you ignore these things because you chose to be on the side of the devils. Right? That evil thing that was created that told you that it was okay for you to hurt people, for you to harm people, that women are sheep and monsters, and that you can do this and that to other people. And how can anybody know God's name? If everything comes from the Creator, which name would you want to give it? Because that means all the names come from the Creator, which means that you are the name of the Creator because you're a part of the Creator. You should only follow yourself. You have the intentions and the feelings within you. All of you people that are coming to me from the Muslim aspect, you realize that you were taught to do things that you didn't believe in. From a very young age, they taught you violence. They taught you segregation. They taught you blindly following the blind. They taught you not to really take in the thing that you were reading. There were options in that book. Yes, you do. Yes, you do, bro. I've got I've got your leaders on. I've got videos of your leaders that are meeting with the Pope, meeting with the Catholic priests, and meeting with the Jews, and then turning around and telling you that you're supposed to unalive anybody that does that same behavior, and y'all follow that shit like puppets. Why? Because you're Muslims. Muslims are there to submit. How am I going to tell you your religion? Because it's all over the fucking place. Literally. And I know that it's your job by your religion to lie to us. So I'm not going to believe anything that you say to me because you lied to us just the same as the Jews do. Because it's part of their religious belief as well. No, you don't submit to God. You submit to your leaders. You submit to false prophets. You submit to idols. You sit there and demonize everybody else and all the other religions, saying that they say that they worship idols and false prophets. Meanwhile, if I say anything about Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, you'll be ready to unalive me over that. That's idol worship, my friend. Now tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. You idolize that character, that construct. You're an idol worshiper. You don't even follow the things that you read in your book. How can you submit to God when you're submitting to Muhammad? You missed the allegory on that. It was an illiterate person that gave you the instructions. You don't think that there's something that might be a little off about that? Somebody that was deficient in the way that their brain functioned told you how you're supposed to conduct yourself. Let me think. Would an illiterate person be happy with the people around them? No, because they would be stunted, right? So they would want you to war against other people due to the fact that they felt like they were inhibited themselves, right? Huh? Oh, you're told not to make him greater than Moses. Okay, so then you submit to Moses then. And if you submit to Moses, Moses tells you that the body is the church. What are you doing inside of a mosque? Moses didn't go inside of a mosque. Moses went on a mountain to get closer to God and stayed there by himself and had to separate himself from everybody, take his shoes off, ground himself, and sit there and chill. This is the word of Moses right here. That's who's speaking here. Notice how it's Moses that tells you that the body is the temple. That your church is your body. That your mosque is your body. Right? So how are you going to tell me what you follow when you don't follow it? When it's right there on the screen in front of you to tell you exactly what it is that you're supposed to be understanding, but you're not taking that. Instead, you're listening to these leaders of yours that are telling you what to do. You're not operating under God's law. You're operating under man's law. Man is a liar. It tells you that in your book. Chris, you can get the fuck out of my chat if you think that this is aggressive. Me standing on my business isn't aggressive. See, I stick to the facts. The facts are blatantly plain and simple. If that offends you in some type of way, then you're in the wrong place. Because I'm not here for people's feelings. I'm here for the truth. Right? It's easier to convince somebody of a lie than to convince them that they've been lied to. You get me? I'm not aggressive. No, I'm not passionate. Passion comes from a place of egotistical, and it comes from a place of passion is not a good thing. You never want to be passionate about anything. You talk to my brother Rashad Poet. He's got a great book that he put out on the etymology of words. It's an amazing book. It's called Somebody's Been Lying. You should check that out. Okay? Look up Rashad Poet. Fucking genius man, took the time to actually break down the etymology and exposed all of the hidden meaning behind the spells that you're casting on a regular basis. Right? So this is the thing, because the reason that I'm talking to my Muslim friends so much is because right now they're all being convinced to come over here and put their lives on the line for this fake religion that they've been given. Right? Right now, all the Muslims are being used as puppets, and it's disgusting because they've been brainwashed into thinking that they're going to be rewarded for losing their life in order for these people to conquer. And they think that it's worth it to them. They don't get to enjoy life now because they're thinking about what they're going to get to enjoy in their afterlife. And so they're willing to sacrifice themselves for something that's being made up in order for them to waste their existence. You understand me? That's why I've been talking to the Muslims so much lately. Is because I see what's happening to them, and I don't feel that it's right, because I feel that they believe that because of the fact that they've been misled, they're going to be put in harm's way. And some of the things that they're doing for the right reasons, but they're doing it for the wrong people. And they're doing it with the wrong intent behind them. They're being convinced that it's okay to enslave everybody here. They're being convinced that it's okay to exchange children. They're being convinced that it's okay to harm people. They're being convinced that they have the right over man to destroy another man's life. All because of the indoctrination that is coming to them from their leaders that are actually doing the exact opposite. Their leaders aren't the ones putting themselves on the line. You don't see your leaders over here doing anything. Right? You don't see your leaders practicing Sharia law. You don't see your leaders practicing the jihad. If they were, then why were they meeting with the Pope, the Christians, and the Catholics? I mean, the Pope, the Christians, and the Jews. Shouldn't they have been unaliving them right there at the spot if they were following the same instructions that they're telling you that you're supposed to follow? No, they don't. The Pope still exists. The Christian leaders still exist. The Jews that they met with all still exist. They haven't done any of it, but they're telling you to do it. You don't find that to be the least bit suspicious? They're getting to enjoy all the riches and the fruits of your labor. Meanwhile, you're just getting to live in poverty. They're all sitting at the same table. Because
power, thus ordained of God.
Whosoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Therefore, whoever resisteth this power thus ordained of God resisteth the ordinance of God. And unless there are two principles, as Manchius predicted there are, but this we judge to be false and heretical. For Moses said that in the beginning God created the heaven and earth. And where they declare and say, affirm the submission of the party of every man to the Bishop of Rome be necessary for his salvation. Your leaders that tell you not to submit to others, submit to the Pope. What am I reading? This is the Unam Sanctum. This is the original Unam Sanctum, which is the first trust ever created, which was the Pope claiming that he had the authority to rule the world.
One head.
Now look at what is in this document. Therefore, there is one body of the one and only church, right? This is the continuation of Moses explaining that the body was the church. Therefore, there is one body of the one and the only church, and one head, not two heads, as if the church were a monster. Let me read that to you again. Therefore, there is one body of the one and the only church. The one and the only, the Creator's church is the body. And one head, not two heads, right? Not two heads, as if the church were a monster. And this head is Christ, and his vicar Peter, and his successor. For the Lord himself said to Peter, feed my sheep. And he said, my sheep in general, not these or those sheep in particular, from which it is clear that all were committed to him. If therefore Greeks or anyone else say that they are not subject to Peter and his successor, they thereby necessarily confess that they are not of the sheep of Christ. Now, who was Peter? Peter was the first pope. Who was Peter the first pope? He was a Jew. Just like Jesus. Just like Moses. Just like all of these so-called prophets that you're following. That's why the people that claim to be Jewish say that they're the chosen people, because all of the so-called prophets of the Bible were what they tell you is Jewish. Now, the funny thing about that, right, is they altered the Bible after that. Right? Let me show you something. So,
why they tell you it's the papal audience. Okay?
Notice how your Muslim leaders meet at the papal audience. The Unam Sanctum is the origin of the papal bull. The papal bull is that document that I just read to you that explains the beginning of admiralty jurisdiction and the submission of the entire world. So they're meeting at the papal audiences. These are the people of the papal bull that submit to the Pope. Your rabbis, your Muslim leaders, your Christian leaders.
Right? Because it's part of the papal.
Muslim, Catholic, Christian, Jewish. All together, meeting under one house.
This is also why he meets with everybody else. Like Jewish leaders.
Okay? So don't tell me that I don't know what I'm teaching you about.
Article of the treaty.
See, because the secret Treaty of Verona, which was created in the 1400s, right? The original document, right, came from the 1400s. It was discussed again in the 1700s. Here in America. This is from the congressional records. All right? The Pope offering their thanks to the Pope for what he has already done for them and solicits in his cooperation to submitting the nations. Because the Pope is the one that operates that shit. Okay?
Treaty of Verona.
All of the countries listed on this are the ones that came to America. Spain, France, Britain. All of those were under control of the Pope. Do I have anything showing the 1400s that's new to you? Well, since the 1400s, religion got fucking created out of the what the fuck was the name of that Bible? The document, the Sinaiticus Codex, the Codex Sinaiticus, which was Michelangelo's studies of the codexes that they had found in the Americas when the people were in the Americas, which had been stolen from here, which had been taken to the other parts of the world where Christianity bloomed out of, right? Christianity bloomed out of Germany, France, and Spain right after the 1400s when they came to the Americas, because during that time, they discovered all of the ancient texts, the codexes. Now, the codexes between the 1400s to the 1700s were being rewritten, right? During that time, they had different people studying them, creating different religious teachings off of them. Doesn't say that in the Bible. Hold on. Let me show you something. Okay, Codex Sinaiticus. All right, the foundation of the Christian Bible, the Codex Sinaiticus. Oh, okay, I got you. My bad. I thought you were talking to me. I don't know. I've been looking at the chat every once in a while, so I don't know if people are talking to me or something else, right? Handwritten well over 1,600 years ago is what they claim. Right? Now, let's see when they tell you that it was found, right? When it was found is the key to this. Was found. Watch this shit. Look at the year. Mid-19th century. You see how all the so-called old documents only pop up after everybody came to the Americas, right? You notice the location of where things pop up, right? St. Catherine's Monastery on Mount Sinai, right? The German biblical scholar Constantine von is credited with its initial discovery. Oh, there's that guy Constantine. All right. Oh, right. Nothing suspicious about that. Let's see. Let's look up some other codexes. Let's see. We got the Codex Borgia. Right? Which was, they say that it's from about 1250 to 1521 that it took to create it, right? But let's look up some information on this for a second here, right? Originally published in 1963, right? Right, Middle American pictorial manuscript from central Mexico. Right, let's check something out. Let's see where this was found. Right, because this is the part that you're missing. All right. Oh, Cardinal Stefano Borgia found it around the 1800s. Right? It's believed to have originated in Pueblo, the region of central Mexico, possibly around the 1400s. You know, that same time that the Chinese people had just came here. Right? And then you had the Spanish come at the end of the 1400s, and then it just disappears and reappears over in Spain. Right? Then we have your Codex. You have your Dresden. Remember? They just told you that the Codex Sinaiticus was found in Germany, right? Why was the Dresden, right? The Dresden Codex was also discovered in Germany somehow, right? After everybody came to America, because let's see what time they found that, right? Right? Oh, look at that. Was initially acquired in 1739 by Johann Christian, right? Notice how his name is Christian. By Johann Christian, the director of the Royal Library of Dresden, after purchasing it from a private collector in Vienna, Spain, right? You see how all of these documents are making it to the places where they're telling you that they're finding all of their oldest religious documents? You see how suddenly, once they find these sacred documents from the Americas, that once they make it to these other places, they kind of start exchanging hands from thief to thief, right? And you see how each one of them has created their own version of the Bible in that area for their people off of the works that came there. Why is it that this was found over there in the 1700s, and then the Sinaiticus was then later found, right? Yeah, it's all just a perfect coincidence, right? It's all a perfect coincidence that lines. You know what I'm saying? Look, check this out. Look, we can go to the next one, right? Where's the other place that Christianity sprang up? The Paris Codex. Paris, France. Oh, whoa, let's see. When was that found? Let's see. That was found. Oh, look at this. Oh. Paris Codex, the few surviving pre-conquest Mayan codices, was rediscovered. Oh, it was rediscovered in the 1800s. Right? Everything that came from America somehow made it across the globe from the 1400s on, it just started making its way around the other world. And all those places that it made to are all the areas that your Christianity pops up. This is where your Christianity pops up from. This is where your Muslim pops up from. This is where your Jewish pops up from. All of these things start popping up. All of these documents that tell you about this whole religious thing start popping up after they went and found the texts. Right? You don't find nothing suspicious about that at all? Yeah, let's see when the Ethiopian Bible was found. Hold on a second. Let's see when that was found. I bet you it's after the Atlantic slave trade. Let's see. Oh, they don't want to tell you what year it was found, right? Right, they tell you when it dates back to. When was it found? When was it discovered? Hold on, was discovered. Let's see. All right, they don't even want to tell you. Look, they won't even tell you when it was found. They tell you when it was dated to. You see that? You see why they don't want to tell you? They don't even, like, why are they trying to hide when they actually found it? Why don't they want to tell you about it? And according to them, it's only a 500-year-old Bible. Why is a 500-year-old Bible supposedly the oldest text? You see how it doesn't make sense? See, they don't want to tell you when they fucking found it. Let's try it a different way. Let's go. In what year? You gonna fucking tell me? No. Uh-oh. Didn't I tell you it's after the Atlantic slave trade became known to the outside world in the mid-20th century with initial recognition in 1950? Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you it was going to be after the Atlantic slave trade? Now, we know about the Pan-African movement and the CIA operatives that operated and when it started, right? The CIA didn't start until when? Imagine that. So in the 1940s, the CIA was created, and then in the 1950s, they found the Bible in the Ethiopia when they started Pan-Africans and telling everybody, trying to reinforce the idea that everybody came from Africa, from this nation. The Bible is not the Word of God. The Word of God is within your heart. That's why it tells you that it's written on the scroll inside of your church. Your body is the church. The scroll is your heart. When you cut the mitochondrial bands, the scroll outrolls and the heart unravels into a scroll. It is a vortex. You're following man's word, not the word of the Creator. This is your problem. This is why you're so lost. So guess what else got implemented after the CIA was founded, right? Then all of a sudden, right? Check this out, right? This is how you submit people. You notice how they did the same thing here in America? Right? The hijab became mandatory in the 1980s. Right? Notice how everybody in America has gone into a form of submission since they made everybody put masks on in the 2020s. You notice how people's will to do things has dwindled heavily since that came to fruition. What do you think happened over here? You get what I'm saying? What do you think that move was over there? Right? Now, when did it say that the when was the Quran found again? In the 1970s? You see, it wasn't that they were discovering these old documents, they were producing them. Let me ask you something. Let's see, let's check something. What war happened between 1950s we'll go to the 1970s. Let's see what wars took place there. The Korean War, the Cold War, and other ones. Like the period also saw conflicts like Suez Crisis in 1956, which involved Egypt, Israel, Britain, and France, and the Brunei Revolt. Oh, you mean all those places where those books were? You mean all the places where those books were? We were at war with them? I don't know. I'll have to look into Brunei. I'll have to check that one. Oh, yeah. No, speaking of the rulers in high places, I'm glad that you brought that up. Because all of you are reading translated books, right? And it says that, any translation of this, changes the effects, right? Completely removes you from...
Two fakest people in the world.
No, we're not doing security, nothing.
Gonna always be a liar.
There it is. I want to show you something because I don't feel like digging through all my photos. So I'm glad that you brought that up because that was a point that I made as well. Give it 1 second. Let's go back to this, right? Because I want to show you something. Now, I already showed you that the Geneva Bible had ISIS on the front, right? So I'm glad that you brought up that point of the wording, right? Let's see.
People shall perish for lack of...
And if any man shall diminish of the words of this book of prophecy, God shall take away his part of the book of life and out of the holy city and from those things which are written in this book, right?
knowledge. And if any man shall diminish the words of this book of prophecy, God shall take away his part of the book of life and out of the holy city and from those things which are written in this book. Which brings me to the point of showing you the manipulation. Notice in the KJV how, for we wrestle against...
See how it's for we wrestle not against the flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against the powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, and against spiritual wickedness in high places. Now, what does this tell you that you're dealing with? This tells you that you're dealing with the devil and spiritual beings and everything of that because of the manipulation in the Bible and of the words, right?
Not against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against the powers.
No, fuck the KJV, because the Because the Geneva that came before it was altered says, "For we wrestle not against the flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against the powers and the worldly governors." The worldly governors, the princes of the darkness of this world, against the spiritual wickedness which are in the high places. You see the difference? You see how one teaches you about a devil and something that doesn't exist that you have to wrestle against, whereas one tells you specifically that you're supposed to wrestle against the government and against these powers that have deemed themselves to be the worldly governors, you know, kind of like the Pope that I showed you with that Unam Sanctum document that I just presented to you, which he decided to create, which the next couple popes created the fucking doctrine of discovery and the papal bulls and everything that came after, which created the submission of the worlds, right? So before it had made it across the seas to them, the original context of it from over here, which deals with the Blackamoors, which are the Dakota Indians, which are the people that are from this land, which were the original melanated Indian. Like, these all things are that we were warning the world against them. And who changed the KJV? That would be Cambridge University. Cambridge University was started by King... I want to say King James. No, not King James. It was, fuck, what was his name? Which king was it? I forget which king it was that started it, but it was a Catholic king that denounced his Catholicism because he liked men, and he also wanted to divorce his wife. And so he created Christianity out of the Bible. Now notice how when I showed you the picture of the Geneva Bible, all right, I want to show you something. The Geneva Bible doesn't say anything about being Christian. Neither does the Bible itself. None of them say they're Christian books. It says the New Testament. You understand? We just showed you that they said that Constantine was the one that found the Bible Sinaiticus, or was the original author of it. We told you that Constantine had altered the fucking texts, right? Adding in hell from Dante's Inferno, adding in the demons and the devils. We told you that that came from Constantine. All roads lead to Rome. Right? So, you know, when it comes to these things, you can't talk to me from the standpoint of any religion because I know where all of them start from. Every single last one. And they can't give me a made-up history because there's too much evidence pointing to it for them to even be able to hide it. It's just that nobody looks. Where have you found a flaw in my research? You get me? Where did you find a flaw in the research? I've shown you the fucking documents. I've shown you the money trail. I've shown you why they created the money system. I've shown you all of it. Yeah, it's a narrow path, right? You get me? So, you know, you can't, like, you can't fool me with religious dogma. Because I know the origin of all religion. Just like I actually know why they did what they did, how they did what they did, who they did it to, and I've shown you the results of all of that shit. Yeah, the meek shall inherit the earth. Well, it's Isivs because the Greeks didn't have the U's. That's how you spell ISIS. They want to try to tell you not to use your brain and read it for what it is. They want to try to tell you to use their interpretation of it, because their interpretation of it gives you a completely different thing, right? Most of the people of the church can't even accept that it's ISIS. They'll say it's Isus. They're like, no, it's Isus. Okay. I see there's an I in front of that. See, the problem is with current day English, you don't understand that it's ISIS. Or ISIS. ISIS. Right? Because current English, the way that they refolded the fucking wording, has you thinking that it would be ISIS. Somehow the E cancels out the I. You understand? But by removing ISIS, you remove the wisdom of the growth, which is explained in the book of Genesis. That gives you the story of Moses, that teaches you how to regulate yourself. Why do you think the medical terms are named after these things? You think they were paying them homage, or do you think that they were actually teaching you about something? Because I just showed you that even Moses tells you that the body is the church. I don't know who Judy King is, but I like my studies. I try to stay away from other people's interpretations. You know, these are the things that come to me naturally. So I follow what comes to me naturally. And what it shows me is what it shows me. And so far, what I've been shown naturally does not conflict with history at all. Okay? It doesn't conflict. In fact, the only things that I've shown you, history solidifies. That's why it's so difficult. That's why most people don't like to debate with me, because they can't debate with me with anything that's factual, because I don't speak anything to you but the facts that people try to hide from. All right? So my thing is, you know, if you disbelieve me, go find something solid to prove it. Because I haven't yet. That's why I know what I'm doing is right. See, that's that armor of God stuff. That's what they're talking about. You see, I can't be fooled and tricked or conned or convinced. I've already done the debate with the scriptures. Debate with the scriptures. We just read you a scripture where Moses tells you that the body is the church. Moses, read what that says. Tell me how that's different from the story of the Bible. You tell me how this separates from the story of the Bible, where they teach you that he takes a large group of people that are encased in one area and divides them to another area. How is that different from his story? Because he had sheep, right? He was a sheep herder that parts the seas and the waters. Right? The distribution of the blood in the water. The burning bush is your cerebellum, the thing that gives you what? Your emotional response to things. Right? He had to take his shoes off when he was on the mountain because it was a sacred place. He had to take his shoes off. That's grounding. So he had to ground himself and sit down. He grounded and meditated, and that regulated. You see him? With his shoes off, kneeling in front of the bush with the wisdom that's being passed to him. See the lion over there? For the emotional response that's generated from your thoughts. Okay, you see the shepherd's staff that he's holding? That's your boy Moses right there. Didn't he have to talk to serpents? Right? That represent the ventricles and the arteries. And then you got the word of God written on the tablets. You know, the word, the breath. All of the things that you're supposed to practice during meditation in order to cleanse yourself. Right? Or to what? Regulate your blood. Who's my teacher? Well, I learned with my brother Frank Burrell of Mental Magic Omniverse, right? I am a Moamian, and I am a minister of Mental Magic Omniverse. That's not a religion. Ministry is simply teacher. Okay? And so the creator is my teacher. It taught me through Frank, and now it teaches me through me now that I'm able to understand the creator. That's why I have to fix all of these things. My name tells you exactly what my purpose is. Jesus isn't your teacher, my friend. I apologize, but you're mistaken. Jesus represents all the things that you're not supposed to be. There's also a passageway that he teaches you that you miss because you think that everything is external because of Jesus. You see, the trick of Jesus was to try to convince the creator that you wouldn't follow a false idol. Because Jesus, why do you think Jesus got mad at all of his disciples and all of his followers that were there upon the resurrection? And he screamed at them due to the fact that they said that they worshiped him instead of the Father. Because his whole entire message was to go within and follow the Father, not him. But yet here you are. Ignoring him when he tells you that. That's why he says, do not call me king and not do the things that I tell you to do. What are you doing that's better than what Jesus did? Huh? Oh, I haven't looked into the stone of Mecca, Hamza. I'll have to. I'll have to at some point. It'll get there. It'll get there when it takes me there. You get me, Hamza? I don't rush these things. I just let them come as they come. I know about the black cube of Saturn and all that nonsense. See, that's the thing is like there's certain things that I'm just not drawn to because of the fact that I know what the implications and the things that they've been used for. No, it's not beer. It's iced tea. Unsweetened. I mean, look. We can go back to that same fucking video for a second and go back to them same Bible quotes where it specifically tells you that the body is the church. So if the body's the church, what are you doing inside of a building? Damn right, Jeff. Damn right. Nah, it's unsweetened because I don't like sugar. I don't fuck with sugar too often because sugar breaks down your body's immune system. I don't like to have to take extra supplements to counteract just a sweet flavor for a couple of seconds. Where do I find this info at? Well, this is the Unam Sanctum. This is the official document that started up the Admiralty jurisdiction. This is the water that washed over the world. I wouldn't know if McDonald's has the best sweet tea because I haven't ate McDonald's probably in like 20 something years. Okay, I stopped fucking with McDonald's when I learned about what's his name? I stopped fucking with fast food when I learned about Rabbi Finkelstein. Yeah, salt every offering, exactly. Right? When you learn about Rabbi Finkelstein, you'll stop eating fast food. He told everybody and everybody ignored him. What books do I recommend for beginning? Well, I wrote a book. You have an option to get my book. Pretty much everybody that's out here doing what you call spiritual teachings and stuff are basically just stealing my works and mirroring them. And then trying to give me pseudo credit. Bro, shut up about what I'm smoking. Stop trying to find things wrong with me. I regulate my shit properly. It's tobacco. Stop trying to find ways to try to unravel the truth that I'm bringing you. Now my friend Harry here, Mr. Joseph, who wrote your Revival of Wisdom book, doesn't like to give me all the credit, but he has to give me some of the credit because I know some of the things that he's copied off of me, and I've had it pointed out by many different people, and he's been altering his works and his teachings based on the things that he's been learning from me, but then he only wants to give me part credit, right? One of the only original people that I find out here that's sharing stuff with you is this one guy. He calls himself Base Forge, and he's got great things on magnetism and sacred geometry and the study of the temples and things like that they created. All right. Outside of that, pretty much everybody else is still teaching you about gods. Yeah, Base Forge Cymatics. Yeah, that's it. Let me see. What's the book called? It shouldn't be free, but where can we read it for free? You know what? Let me tell you something, right? I'm going to just tell you straight out. You're fucked up. Right? Because you've been buying all these books. You've been fucking paying for all of these lessons. You've been paying for all of these teachings. You've been learning all of these things and having to pay for everything that you did for those. But yet when it comes to the person that brings you the truth, you don't want to get it, right? Here, I'll tell you, if you got Amazon Kindle, you can read it for free on Amazon Kindle. As long as you're paying for Amazon Kindle. Right. But you would think that you would want to help support the person that actually brings you the truth, rather than considering how much you support all these people that are lying to you and destroying you, right? No, it's herbal tea, unsweetened, with ginseng extract in it, not beer. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't drink. Almost ever. Like, I almost never drink alcohol. right? If you've been broke this whole time, then you need to discipline yourself to handle your finances better. Right? Maybe try living within the bounds of your means instead of trying to live a life that makes you feel like you have to do a whole bunch of extra shit to actually attain it. Start living comfortably instead of living from the standpoint of what everybody tells you. You don't need a fucking 5-bedroom fucking house sitting on an acre of land. It'd be nice, but you know, that's not a necessity of life. All you really need is a roof over your head, right? Go get you a trailer for $5 or $6 grand off of a fucking, or for like $500 or $700 off of a fucking off of a tax auction. Do something smart. Make your life easier. You don't have to have a house just because everybody tells you that you have to have a house to live comfortably. That's a bullshit lie. That's just something that people have had beaten into their heads in order for them to remain servants, right? Because as long as you're trying to reach these things that they tell you that you have to reach a certain societal look, and so that people respect the way that you do blah 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 blah, you're always going to be chasing something that you can't reach, that's going to be out of your grasp. That's the whole concept of why it was made that way in the first place, so that you'd always be a servant. You don't need a house. You can get a trailer. Pay almost nothing but a lot fee. And live nice and comfortable. And barely have to work. Except to pay like utilities and shit like that. And at that point, you can then you have the time to start working on the things that you want to do for yourself. And start building your own businesses so that you don't have to answer to anybody. Because then you can afford to. All right? You see what you see where I'm getting with this? I'm not trying to give you shit. I'm just trying to help you view the things that you're going through so that you can have a better future ahead of you. No, I'm not talking about Epstein. If y'all haven't figured out what Epstein was yet, then you know, that's a problem for you. Nobody realizes that Epstein was in fact somebody that was used to subdue all of the government. That's how the government got taken over. Where did Epstein flee to when all the shit started? Israel. Where do you think he came from? Why do you think he was dealing with all of the political people? Why do you understand? That's how they gained control. That's all I'm saying on it. Okay? I don't want to dive too much into that because, you know, TikTok gets sensitive when I start revealing a little bit too much about current things. Okay? I can talk to you about things of the past, but if I start talking to you about things of the present or the future, TikTok starts taking my account from me. So leave that shit out of my chats because I have an inherent need to tell you the truth. And that keeps costing me my accounts. So I have to focus on what I can tell you versus what I can't tell you. Okay? So be mindful. It's your job to be mindful because I have a very hard time not telling you about things. Because it's the things that I don't tell you about that you need to know about, which is why I speak to you about as many things as I do. Which is why so many people listen to me in the first place, is because I'm the only one that actually has the proof and the things to show you and actually takes the time to put the pieces together and reveals to you the things that everybody is searching for, the answers to why. Right? So I have to be careful how I deliver and what I deliver, but when you ask me a question, it's very hard for me not to tell you. Okay? Because I feel like I'm doing you a disservice when I don't. So, you know, keep that in mind when you ask me questions about stuff. Like, you got to watch out for me too. Because I'm watching out for you by digging into this stuff and teaching it to you. Just a thought. But look. Oh, the name of the book? It's the Book of Johnson, Unlocking the Kingdom. I don't do the private discussions. The reason I don't do private discussions is because look at how much time I've already given you. And considering the fact that I reach hundreds of thousands of people quick, it's kind of hard. I would never have time to reveal these things to people if I was spending all of my time having private discussions with everybody. Everybody wants to have private discussions with me. I'm not saying that to be egotistical or anything like that. You know, I'm just saying, like, in general, like, you know, I answer a lot of questions for a lot of different people on a lot of different subjects. So pretty much a lot of different people have a whole bunch of questions for me. And so, you know, that's why I try to put them in video format so that I can answer like as many people at once as possible. Oh, here, guess what? You're about to find that I don't give you any of my time if you can't respect the things that I'm telling you that I do. Okay? I don't want to be rude to you. Like, I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that, but you can't possibly respect somebody's time if they tell you the construct of how they operate their things and then you complain about it. You know? I do my best, but, you know, I can't do everything for everyone all the time. Like, I have to have time to study and stuff like that. You get me? So, like, you know, stop taking it fucking personal and stop making it about you. Because there's a whole world worth of people that have just as many questions as you do that I also can't answer directly. You get me? Feel free to leave me whatever question you have in my inbox. Feel free to leave it there. Hey, what's up, Aeon? Aeon, your fucking page has nothing to do with me whatsoever. So what the fuck are you talking about? Your inspiration? I don't even follow you. And if you need to ask me what 6 means, then you should probably study it for yourself. Yeah, heathen. That's it right there. Well, what's 369? 3 is what? Vibration. Everything's always constantly moving. What is 6? 6 is the cause and the effect. 9 is the product. Right? So if 6 is the cause and the effect, that is the creation of the product, right? 7, right? The 7th is the gender, which is the side that the product is produced on, right? 8 is the cycle that it takes for the production, and 9 is the production itself. How does 369 navigate the universe? Because 369 is sacred geometry. This is 369. Right here. That's where this comes from. That is this. This is 369 when you use a square and a compass and you draw it out. This is what you get. You get the astrology map, which is also the map to the body, which is also the map to the world, which is also where all of your biblical things come from, which is also where all of your zodiac signs come from. This is 369 in sacred geometry. The square and the circle. The Q and the ball. Now you know where they got it from. Yeah, Slab Savage, exactly. The square and the circle. This is 369 right here. This is what it gives you. It gives you the map of the universe. See, the 369 gives you the knowledge . You see the owls? Right? You see the owl, right? So that's your owl on the edge, right? This one, I ran out of paper, so I wasn't able to complete the whole entire thing, okay? On this one, right? So that's the other owl. right? And that's your other owl, right? So these are your three wise men, or your knowledge, your owl on the edge. Okay, this gives you the knowledge of the universe, right? So you have your three wise men, your saint, you know, your savior, your boy Jesus. Right? Which, if you turn it around this way, if you notice, Jesus was born of the Virgin Mary, right? Oops, sorry. Bloop. Okay. Oops, sorry. Bloop. Okay. She's holding him right there, right? Because when you turn it this way, he's born. Right? Which, if... Let's see, which one is it? I believe it's this way. Nah, it's still the same way, right? Where's it at? You know, there's your boy Jesus in the lap of Mary, right? Now, she was visited by an angel, right? Right, now you see why they always have that circle behind them and shit, okay? So look, right, if we go like this and like this, right, you've now got your angels. Right, and their wings, right? Now you have, matter of fact, here, I'm pretty sure I've already got most of them on here. Oh wait, no, it's not this one. It must be the other one. Hold on, let's back this out. I know I've got 2 copies of this on here. And no, the Earth is not flat, okay? That goes against nature, okay? There's magnetism that takes place, okay? The land masses build up from the energy that's being pushed back up from below. Okay, that's why you have land masses. Right? It's magnetism. It comes in and pushes back up. It's a rotation. Okay, so it's not flat. It's actually, you know, an uneven surface. But, you know, this is how everything works. Okay? Just so you know. Now, where is the one that I made that has all of the astrology on it? Because I don't feel like drawing all of that out right now. Oh, whatever. I guess we could draw them out. All right, so... All right, let's take a second and look at this. All right, let's see. You've got... Which one is it? I believe it's... Where's that? Uh-oh. Oh. Shit. You know what? I just told you guys I had to go at 3. No, it's not a ball. That's physically impossible. But yeah, nothing's flat. That's not natural. Even the closest thing you can find to flat in nature is a crystal. And it's only a portion of it that's flat because it's a side of something. So it doesn't count as flat because it's actually not. All right? It's growing. All right, now let's see which one should we start with? Go like this. Is it this one? Yeah, it's this one. Okay, so it goes like this. Comes around like this and goes up to this part. All right. Now this part. No, don't fucking. Okay, there we go. All right. Now this goes like this, and then comes around this way, and goes like this, and then goes around this way. Okay, and then you get 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, that's off a little bit. That one would be there. And then, all right, yeah, it's on the wrong rotation, but you'll get the point. So like this, and then we cut these two like this, and like this, and this goes like this, and comes around this way, and there's your Scorpio. Okay? Then, let's see. You've got that's not the right one. Which way is it? Let's see. See, everything's on a rotation, right? Because it's on an axis. So there's your Pisces, the 2 fish. Let's see, who's next? Let's see. The Aquarius is a weird one. It's like this. And then it goes like in here, and then there's like a body in here. And it's like that, and then it's got like that I would have to pull out all the signs in order for me to remember where all of them are at, right? But I can literally, I'll have to go and find it because I know I have a copy of all of them on this already on here somewhere. Just give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find it because it's a lot easier. Oh wait, is it on this one? No. Damn. See, it's all the same thing, right? People like to say, you know, they seen that this, I did this one where I showed them that this hat is this hat down here. And they're like, oh, that's that one thing that connects. No, actually, okay, so the dog is here. Let me show y'all something, right? People don't think this shit connects. This dog is this dog. This creature is this creature. This is the cross itself. The serpent coming out of the glove, that would be that's the word, so that's the dog again. You have, this is the top part of the cross, that's here. This face right here with the 12 notches became these 12 right here. That's following behind this guy. Notice how there's the dog thing on top of it. That's this guy. Then when, okay, like all of these things are replicas because it's all the same thing being taught over and over again because it's all the same people. Ophiuchus is not astrology. Ophiuchus is a constellation. There's a difference, okay? And the constellation of Ophiuchus, and that's where people get it confused, is because the constellation of Ophiuchus is, it's the man You know, it's the man that has the one hand out that's grabbing onto the serpent that he's also standing on. Right? But the thing with Ophiuchus is that what Ophiuchus is teaching you is about all the houses, because he's in about 6 or 7 houses. Now, a house is this right here. Okay, I think that's every 2,500 years. I think that's what that is, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that right now. Don't quote me on that, because I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure the houses were 25 or 2,200 years, I believe. But I don't remember that exactly right now. Okay, but these are the houses. This is the house of God. Okay, these are the houses that aren't built by hands. Okay. So, you know, all of this stuff kind of plays together. But look, it's 3 o'clock. I got to run. I love y'all. Thank y'all for giving me your time. I hope I might have, you know, opened your eyes to some shit. And I will catch you guys on the next live. Peace.